Looks like I'm live. How y'all doing out there tonight? It is 11:25 p.m. So guess what? I just made it in time for my daily duty, responsibility, my daily goal of going live at least once a day. So far, I'm trying to keep up this schedule. It ain't easy. How y'all doing out there tonight? This is Shabazz with the proper perspective. What's going on, everybody? I'm gonna try to slow drag it just a little bit. See if these notifications shoot out and see if anybody joins me tonight. If not, then I'll just get it started and keep it rolling. But first thing I'm gonna do before I really get cracking is share the screen and play my intro. But let me say, if you are in the chat room, please feel free to let me know. Say something in the chat room so I know you're here. Let me see. I see some. I do have at least one person in the chat room. Shout out to you. If you want me to say your name, put a. If you want me to say your name, put something in the chat so I'll know you don't mind that. Some people is cool with it. Some people don't like that kind of extra attention. So I ain't trying to say nothing if you don't want me out there, but I do appreciate your presence. I am live. The notification should be going out to your YouTube pages. Should be going out to your Instagram pages. Should be going out to Facebook pages. I would say fan base and TikTok, but I don't know. Sometimes they just don't go, and I ain't got no control in that. I'll flash that on the screen. Shout out to if you're in the chat room and you say something, I will try my best to put you up on the screen for at least a few seconds. I am gonna get started. First, I'm gonna share the screen, and while I check on a couple of other things, I'm gonna play my theme song. It's not that long. Here we go.
Break it down with the proper perspective. The proper perspective. So much controversy and a lot of deception. You don't know who's coming through with the light and reflection, and whose mouth is mumbling, trick knowledge deceptive. Shabazz break it down with the proper perspective. So much controversy and a lot of deception. You don't know who's coming through with the light and reflection, and whose mouth is mumbling, trick knowledge deceptive. Shabazz break it down with the proper perspective. Shabazz break it down with the proper perspective. Break it down with the proper perspective.
How y'all doing out there? What's going on, everybody? I am back in the throne, trying to get everything situated here. So please bear with me as we take care of a couple of technical issues. If you can hear me, please let me know. I'm going to assume that everything is working good. The last time I came live, there was so many little devilish things going on. So let me stop the sharing. I'll be right back. And now we are really ready to rock and roll with this subject tonight. It seems as though all my technical glitches have been taken care of. So we're going to get it started. The title of tonight's show is Exposed. Lies about Ilhan Omar. FBA Phillip Scott. Let's talk facts. So I am going to be discussing some political issues tonight and some social media influencers, some news reporters, if that's what they really are, and some of the misinformation that they putting out there. Now, I can't say if they're putting it out there on purpose. I hope they're not putting it out there on purpose, but I have a hard time believing that they are unaware of the facts that they're speaking on. But before I go there, this is Black History Month, so I want to say shout out to everybody that's staying active with whatever type of Black history information that you are personally pursuing, studying, and digging into. On this show, what I have been doing is trying to give a shout out to either an elder or an ancestor that has done something significant. And so thus far, I have covered Kwame Ture for one, Carter G. Woodson, Queen Mother Moore. Tonight, I'm gonna give a shout out to Betty Shabazz. And so in doing so, there's a segment I want to play for your entertainment and for your edutainment, for your mind and your soul. So as I get that ready, let me see. Let me go on over here to the section I want. As I said, I was trying to make sure all my technical glitches have been taken care of. So let me share this screen and get it started with tonight's show. As we, in honor of Black History Month, we want to pay respects, we want to pay reverence to an ancestor who has done something for the betterment of the community. So tonight we're honoring Betty Shabazz. And so let's see if we can get this rolling.
Brazil and anywhere else in the world. He emphasized that Afro-Americans and Africans were one.
So let me pause for 1 second. I want to try to let it play, but this is a speech given by Betty Shabazz, and she's discussing her husband, her late husband, El Haj Malik El Shabazz, that everybody more commonly knows as Malcolm X, and some of the things that he was working on prior to his untimely demise at the hands of Uncle Sam.
Not only sharing a common heritage, but also a common destiny. Brother Malcolm's uncompromising demand of his Brazil and anywhere else in the world. He emphasized that Afro-Americans and Africans were one.
He emphasized that Afro-Americans and Africans were one. That's one of the points I want to make sure that we think about. Malcolm X emphasized that Africans and Afro-Americans were one people.
Not only sharing a common heritage, but also
not only do we share in a common heritage,
a common destiny.
But a common destiny.
Malcolm's uncompromising demand of his fellow Afro-Americans that they take the Afro-American struggle out of a domestic civil rights issue and put it in its proper context as a human rights struggle, and so internationalize it and thereby seek redress before the nations of the world at the United States.
So again, he emphasized taking our cause, taking our struggles, taking our issues, our plight in this country out of the domestic arena of Uncle Sam's dominion and into the world court of the United Nations.
United Nations. This uncompromising demand is one of the most far-reaching and crucial departures from the objective of the established civil rights leaders.
This uncompromising demand. So Malcolm was uncompromising about this. And this uncompromising demand was critical, was crucial in his departure from the norm, the status quo.
These leaders represent the concluding phase of an important era.
Now, she ain't throwing shots. She ain't throwing shade, because she says these civil rights leaders represent a crucial moment. Go back one little bit.
The concluding phase of an important era.
They represent the concluding phase of an important era.
Malcolm, the beginning of a new era.
But Malcolm represented the beginning of a new era. That was the hope, that was the challenge, that was the cause. That's what he was fighting for. And to some extent, that's what she continued to work towards.
That is why recent and Newsweek and Harris poll of the Herald Tribune are misleading and false. They have ignored the important age breakdown operating now in the black ranks. For older Negroes, their generation set a goal of integration, intermarriage, integrated parties. For the black youth of the new generation, Brother Malcolm was the symbol of youth and vitality of this era. For us, international politics, the emergence of African nation to independence, the death struggle of colonialism and imperialism, and the heartening of white reaction to the increasing strength of the non-white world.
So again, what is she saying? She's saying the older generation was committed to integration. Now, if you are in any way cognizant of some of the discourse that's been going on, because in our day and time, it's been going on for a long time. There's this wave, there's this realization and idea that integration, while it may have had its merits, and you can even say it's a generational gap, a generational divide. Integration had some negative impacts that definitely were not necessarily worth the embrace of integration. And there's a lot of people that like the catchphrase, the buzzword, people will say, integration. What was it? They like to quote Martin Luther King, who says, "I fear I may have integrated my people into a burning house." And what Betty Shabazz is saying is her husband, Malcolm X, represented the break from that ideology and the move towards international politics. Now, why is that important? International politics is that's the new fight. That's the new game. That was a new game back then in the 60s before he was assassinated. And the problem is, it is still the new game today. And while that's not a problem, the problem is there are too many people today trying to go backwards, trying to walk backwards. Malcolm was trying to show us and teach us, instruct us that we need to walk out of the confines of the US and walk into the world arena, the United Nations. Take our cause away from Uncle Sam, because Uncle Sam has had 400 years to fix the problem, and he hasn't. Uncle Sam has been ignoring it. No matter what you think about politics, you could be a Democrat, you could be a Republican, you could be independent, you could be nonchalant and apathetic. You can vote in every election, you can vote in no elections. But at the end of the day, Uncle Sam has not rectified the problem, has hardly even addressed it. And Malcolm was saying he's not going to address it. He's not going to address it effectively. He's not going to address it honestly. And we need to have that conversation, because what Malcolm said was, you're not going to get where you're trying to go unless you go to the UN, unless you take your fight out of the confines of Uncle Sam's legal framework and you position it in the confines of the United Nations. And this is not a small thing. This is not, and it's not erroneous. There is a very real reason why so many people, especially in these YouTube streets, especially in these Instagram streets, are trying to tell Black people, get out of world politics. They're trying to tell people, focus just on the United States. They have no background or expertise in anything. They're just charismatic. And they are going exactly 100, that's the wrong word. They're going exactly opposite. They're going in the exact opposite direction of where Malcolm X was going. And the sad thing is, because we don't control our own curriculums in schools, the vast majority of Black people, especially younger generation, don't know this. They think they are involving themselves in a forward-thinking movement. And really, they're just becoming occultists of the Nashidite variety, for one. They're coming Philippian Scottians, and they're being duped. So again, I want to give a shout out to Betty Shabazz She's one of the heroes and sheroes of the Black community. And she took up the struggle right along with her husband. And she carried the torch after they assassinated him. And she tried to show and prove and teach Black people that the name of the game is world politics. We are one with the African continent and the people of the African continent. We have one common goal. We have a common shared heritage. We both have fought the English. We both have fought the British. We both have fought the Spaniards. We both have fought the Portuguese. We both have fought the French, and so on and so forth. So on and so forth. They colonized the continent. They colonized and enslaved African people. On the continent, they enslaved them in one manner and method. And they threw some of us on the boats and brought us over here to the West and dropped us off in Jamaica, in Haiti, in Puerto Rico, and in the United States. And they colonized and enslaved us in a different way. But exploitation is exploitation. Too often, this exclusive movement, this xenophobic movement, wants to try to trick us and tell us that we're the only ones that it has happened to. All Black people on this planet have been faced with and forced to reckon with the same group of enemies. Yes, there were extreme, vastly different methods to their exploitation. Some of those on the continent, for the most part, were allowed to maintain their ancestral knowledge, but they were not allowed to maintain their political dominion. We were not allowed to maintain, at least on Front Street, our ancestral knowledge and our cultural knowledge. And we also have not been allowed to maintain our political dominion. But I believe it was Dr. Khalid Muhammad who said, there go another hero. I believe it was Dr. Khalid Muhammad who said, you know, many of us have forgotten once we were brought here, we were robbed of our language, robbed of our culture. We lost our religion, our God, our names. This is all true. And so, you know, for those of us, for the Africans on the continent, they were robbed of their religion too. Because there was no, at the time that most of us were put on ships, Christianity was not on fire in West Africa, which is where most of us come from. Now, we did have a strong block of Islamic practitioners, but we had an even stronger block of what they call traditional African religious practitioners. They were tricked and forced into Christianity the same way we were. The extensions may be different. I'm not putting down either side. I don't play that mess. So again, I'm giving this shout out. This is my Black History moment, and I'm giving this shout out to Betty Shabazz. I'm gonna stop the sharing. I should have did that earlier. Come back to the main screen is what they say. So, like I said, that was today's Black History moment. So what I do on the show, if you're new, if you're tuning in for the first time, or you haven't seen me too many times before, what I do, I cover a important figure in Black history. I touch on some type of something about African culture or heritage. So tonight I'm also going to introduce, or not necessarily introduce, you may have already heard it, but I am going to share with you an African proverb that does relate to this topic, the topics that I'm talking about. And so tonight's African proverb is, when there is no enemy within, the enemy outside cannot harm you. When there is no enemy within, the enemy outside cannot harm you. Now, for me, this is a very important African proverb. This proverb highlights the importance of unity and resisting internal divisions, which ties directly to the false narratives that some of the big platforms and the social media influencers are spreading and pushing within our midst. Now, I hate to be the kind of person that challenges these types of things, but I also hate to be the kind of person that sits around and hear people just lying and not say anything or not do anything. I don't have a problem with anybody who says, you know, if I want to challenge you, if you want to challenge me about an ideology that I have, about a behavior that I demonstrate, I'm all game. We can have a respectable dialogue, but come at me with a fact. Don't tell me you saw me up on Broad Street eating pork. That would just be an outright lie. We gonna need to see them receipts. We can challenge each other, steel sharpens steel. We can always challenge each other. But unity is paramount. We got to stay on code. And it's too many people out here trying to break that code. And they do it in sly, slick, devilish ways. And I keep talking about this. You know, they acting very much like the serpent in that biblical narrative. Now, don't come at me saying, oh, you trying to preach. No, I'm not a preacher. I never will be. I never was. And I don't really deal with biblical stuff. But I know that there are narratives in there that can relate to some stuff going on. That serpent, that devil in the Bible, in that biblical narrative, he came at Eve real slick, sounding real good, playing the devil's advocate, posing questions that he knew were promoting a false narrative. And that's what some people are doing. And so now what am I talking about? I'm segueing in to this conversation, this discussion. This discussion is mostly about Ilhan Omar, a U.S. Congresswoman. This woman focuses on progressive policies that impact a broad range of communities, including African Americans. And if you are of the persuasion where you no longer like that label, you want to be called a foundational Black American. Look, I'm gonna say it time and time again. I respect your desire to go by another label. I may not necessarily agree with your desire to go by another label, but the Nguzo Saba says Kujichagulia. Self-determination, the right for self-determination. So if you want another label, go for it, bro. Go for it, my sister. I'm not mad at you for that. But we still got to stand on facts. And I say this for a couple of reasons. Like, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm in a classroom and I have to, and let's say I'm in a classroom and I have to grade some papers. I got to grade a student. And he starts or she starts spewing out these falsehoods, thinking they doing something. Yeah, well, when that paper come to me, they're gonna get the big old what? They're gonna get a flag. They catching that F real fast. Then they gonna get their feelings hurt. And I'm gonna be like, I refer you to exhibit number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if you run around here feeding off this energy that's being promoted, this false narrative being promoted, you know, facts have a way of sneaking up on you and smacking out your face. Now, what am I talking about? Why am I going on about this? I'm talking about, and let me say this, because in general, I respect the channel. When I first heard about the channel, I respected the brother. But as time goes on, you know, my respect levels are beginning to drop a little bit because I've seen a lot of slick talk that don't necessarily sound factual. So what am I talking about? Let me see if I can go ahead and get this other page pulled up. And I'm going to pull this page up. Let's see. 1 second, please. 1 second, please. Okay, so here comes the page. So you at least see, you get a little preview. Share my screen. Here it comes. Turn on these volumes. So I'm getting ready to share the screen. Let me go full screen on you. Now, like I said, when I first heard about this brother, when I first heard about this channel, I was like, yo, this sounds good to me. I'm a Pan-Africanist by heart, even though I may not belong to, and I may not necessarily belong to an organization. But I am a Pan-Africanist by heart, or I'm a Pan-Africanist by spirit. Like to give a shout out to Dr. Dennis Osar Winkler for joining the chat. Blessings, blessings. As I said, and I love to throw names up on the screen. So I'm glad he's here also. But so like I said, I have a certain amount of respect for this channel and for the commentator. But it behooves us to stand on facts when we start, especially when we're speaking in the public places and spaces. And so I was really like blown away when I heard this particular comment or comments, because it ain't just one. So let me go ahead and let you hear it. So I don't want you to say I'm lying on the brother. So here we go.
Out of Minnesota, and Ilhan been a problem from day one. Ilhan Omar has never prioritized FBAs. She don't speak up for FBAs. She don't do anything. She has been pro-Somalia. Ilhan been a problem from day one.
He said Ilhan's been a problem from day one.
Ilhan Omar has never prioritized FBAs.
Ilhan Omar has never prioritized FBA.
She don't speak up for FBAs.
She don't speak up for FBA.
She don't do anything.
She don't do anything. This is my first point. This is my first little segment. So one, you can't say I'm making this up. You can't say I'm misconstruing. You heard the words out his mouth. Ilhan Omar has been a problem from day one. She ain't never prioritized FBA. She ain't did nothing for FBA. She ain't did nothing. That's what he said. So don't say I'm making it up. Now, if this was true, I wouldn't be here. If this was true, I wouldn't be speaking on it. So I'm gonna stop the share. Or let me see. If I don't stop it, what happens if I share the screen a little bit? Let me see if I can share the screen a little bit. That's a little bit better. What y'all think? I like that one. That's the one I like. So I'm gonna use this for a little bit. Keep him on the screen so you see the brother. Now I'm gonna start pulling up some stats. Like I said, Ilhan Omar, the U.S. Congresswoman, focuses on what I found. He said she did nothing at all. And then he characterized his comments with ain't prioritizing FBA. Now, again, for the purposes of my conversation, FBA is synonymous to African American. Now, I know if you're an FBA person, you'll be like, no, it ain't. Look, listen to what I'm saying. In this political conversation, I know he is talking about the African descendants of the plantation system. I'm not promoting the ADOS label because I don't agree with them either. And I'm not necessarily going to promote the FBA label. But you and I both know in general, when we talk about African American, ADOS, or FBA, we still talk about a certain group of people outside of the Black immigrant or immigration part of the community. We're talking about those of us descending from the plantation. Now, so he says she ain't did nothing, ain't never said nothing. So I go looking it up. You know, she's a public official. So this ain't hard information to discover. It's everywhere. It's on the Congressional Black Caucus website. It's on the Congress's website. There's been interviews. So if you're specifically asking, what has she done that explicitly prioritizes or stands up uniquely for FBA? Let me say this. Outside of the reparations issue, and if I'm wrong, you can tell me, I don't see a whole lot of political issues that are only uniquely relevant to the Black community. If you say, well, we're concerned about crime, all communities are concerned about crime. If you say we're concerned about education, who ain't? If you in a community, especially if you got kids, you got a concern about education. If you say college loan debt, because that was an issue during the campaign, yeah, that's not uniquely us. Everybody that went to college and got a school loan is like, yo, we need to do something. So outside of reparations, it's the only issue where it's like, okay, can't nobody else talk. You know, Black people ourselves, if we talk in FBA, the FBA movement is at least supposed to be supposed to be discussing issues that are uniquely contributing to our progress or lack thereof. Criminal justice reform, reparations, economic equity, education and student debt relief, anti-discrimination efforts. Well, he says she ain't never did anything in these categories that would relate to be an example of prioritizing or standing up for FBA. Well, FBA was fighting for criminal justice reform, especially after George Floyd. She was vocal about police accountability. She was vocal about ending qualified immunity. That was one of the strongest charges, the strongest asks from FBAs. Anybody that was involved, any African American, melanated brothers and sisters, that was, if you was hitting the streets because of those rallies, because of those protests, because of the marches, in defense of the murder of George Floyd, one of the biggest things that they were asking for, that we were asking for at that time, was ending qualified immunity. Ilhan Omar said, I'm in favor of ending qualified immunity. So that's one example where he don't know what he's talking about, or he's smoke screening you. So which is it? I mean, he's a polished brother. He's a paid brother. He's an intelligent brother. So if I can find this information, you can't tell me he can't find this information. He coming to the public saying she ain't did nothing. He coming to the public saying she ain't even cracked her mouth. We were in favor. We've been in favor of reparations. She's expressed support for HR 40. Now I know, because I'm one of them. And you can't play this game. You can't say, yeah, well, we ain't in favor of HR 40. Yeah, we don't, it's too late for a study. Yeah, I know, I kicked that too. That's not the point. The point is, legislatively speaking, it was Malcolm that said, get out of Congress and go to the UN. We decided we're not going to do that. FBA ain't doing that. FBA ain't saying, let's go to the UN. FBA saying, let's keep knocking on Uncle Sam's door. Well, if you go knock on Uncle Sam's door, that means you need a congressperson to vote for you. She voted for it. Now, I don't care if you say HR 40 ain't enough, it ain't good enough, it ain't strong enough. I agree, but that's not what's at issue. What's at issue is he said she ain't did nothing for us. We are the only ones. I'm saying that wrong. We are only promoting that piece of legislation. And we're not even in unity over it. There's pockets of the Black community that's like, we don't even need it. Now, enough of them. But in Congress, there are Black people calling for HR 40. So she said, you know something? Well, I'm in Congress. I'm going to call for it too. That means she opened her mouth. That means she prioritized African Americans, ADOS, FBA, and she voted in line with us. But he says she's not for us. We've been asking for economic equity. She's pushed for raising the minimum wage. Lots of us work in wage-oriented jobs. If you were paying attention last year, there were many different protests. People were working off their jobs, picketing, saying we need a, what did they call it? A living wage. People said we need a living wage, right? Raise the minimum wage. Black people were flocking to this political argument, to this political topic, this political discussion. Well, what do you know? This congressman voted for raising the minimum wage. So she's lock, stock, and barrel with African Americans, FBA, ADOS. But he says she ain't never opened her mouth. Where is he? Is he living under a rock? Or is something more sinister going on? See, when you find a brother that's smart, intelligent, articulate, knowledgeable, and they start spitting absolute, bold-faced lies, what's going on? This man is sitting at the top of a news network, African Diaspora News Channel. He got privy to more information than I do. And so, okay, if you're not going to count her voting record, what are you counting? We as the Black community have been discussing and fighting for economic equity. She pushed for the minimum wage, as I said. We've been fighting for education and student debt relief. She supports student loan cancellation. We've been fighting anti-discrimination with legislation. She supported bills aimed at comparing racial discrimination and systemic racism. Now, how does that not align with FBA interests? How is that not an example of prioritizing, of representing, of standing for, or standing up for FBA issues? So, again, that's this thing is sometimes it boggles me. I'm like, okay, like just how many intelligent Black, I want to say men, because I've only really paid attention. I can't say, like, I can name the Black men I've encountered, at least online, kicking out these lies. And I'm like, I thought this was a good one. I thought this was one of the good brothers. You know, I thought Tariq Nasheed was definitely one of the good brothers. I got caught up in the Hidden Colors films. I bought them. And to see him go from Hidden Colors to all this other mess today, yo, I'm like, I almost want to be like, can I get my money back? But okay. Now, there was, you know, there's going to be some people that's like, I feel as though I've already given you the receipts, but I know there's going to be some people that's going to say, you ain't gave me no receipts. Well, like I said, HR 40, the Commission to Study and Develop Reparation Proposals for African Americans. I'm of the mind that it is a weak bill. But my problem is, I don't see anybody who has a problem with the bill saying let's rewrite it. At least not directly. Now, I'm not God. I ain't all I see, and I don't know everything. If there are people saying let's revise it and rewrite it, I'm good with that. Show me that she is against it. Show me that she is against revising it. Because even if you show me that she's against revising it, that would mean he lied. Because that would mean she cracked open her mouth and she made a comment about it. He says she did nothing. She never opened her mouth. I can't find any comments where she says I'm against it. I found comments and examples where she's in favor of it. Like I said, she voted for the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act of 2021. She voted for this bill. So if that's not standing up, what is? That's a specific receipt. If you say you just yapping in the first segment, okay, I'm giving you a very specific receipt. This is a legislative bill presented by either directly or indirectly by FBA. And she voted in favor of it. Now, she's been in support of the First Step Act. This was passed before she got into Congress. So I'm not going to tell you, I'm not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. I'm not going to say she was in lock, stock, and barrel with this one because she wasn't in Congress at that time. But she has supported similar measures aimed at reducing mass incarceration. Now, we all know that mass incarceration has been on the table of the Black dialogue when it comes to the problems that we have, the challenges we have, and what we're trying to fix and overcome. She ain't said, nah, let them stay in jail. Economic justice and anti-poverty measures. Like I said, the Raise the Wage Act in 2019 and 2021. That's a bill that is specifically, well, not specifically, but that's a bill that covers FBA economic issues. And she voted in favor of it. So there's your specific receipt. Matter of fact, when it comes to standing up and representing, she co-sponsored the bill. So this is just not let me show up and vote. She co-sponsored the bill. So she knew if I co-sponsor it, that means my name is going to be attached to it. So if she was afraid of FBA, if she was afraid of being connected with FBA, maybe she would have ran the other way, but she didn't. She put her name on it. But he said she ain't opened her mouth. He said she ain't never stood up. Universal basic income and direct cash assistance. Now, whether this one got passed or not the point. You know what the point is? Again, what did he say? She ain't never did nothing, right? She proposed guaranteed income programs, which have been tested in cities and have shown to significantly benefit Black Americans, FBA, facing economic disparities. So she proposed programs. How is that not standing up? But you got this dude telling 36,000 people she ain't did nothing. And this is one of my real problems with our community. If it sounds sweet, we run with it. We ain't going back behind this man fact checking him. We just running with it. Yeah, she don't care about us. You sound like an idiot. You down talking to people who are trying to help you. In favor of what? In favor of who? A ghost. In favor of someone that don't exist. If you're going to say, let's not rock with her, let's not side with her, let's not stand with her. Okay, fine. Then who you going to rock with? Who you going to stand with? You don't want her in that office. Who do you want in office? If you're going to come to the table with that, if she's the problem, what's your solution? I can't imagine how she really is the problem when she's voting lock, stock, and barrel with us on the issues that come to the table. But you want to detract from her and get people to not vote for her, and you ain't even saying who you should vote for. Now, you're too scared for that. You're too clever for that. We as black people got to get up off this dumb train. You can't just let people blow smoke in your face. You can't let them, what's the phrase? What's the expression? Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. That's what he's doing over there on his channel. Now, again, I'm not throwing shade at the channel. I still watch the channel. I still watch his discussions. When he has something of value, I will big up it. I will hit the like button, share it, or whatever. When he has something that detracts from black progress, I'm not sharing it. I'm not liking it. And I might go ahead and just say, okay, well, here's my 2 cents on the issue. So again, you want a specific receipt. The College for All Act in 2021, once again, she put her name on it. She co-sponsored this bill to make public college tuition free for families earning under $125,000. So if you make under $125,000, you can benefit from being able to go to college for free, thanks to Congressman Ilhan Omar, that he says ain't did jack. So what is it that he is looking for? She even introduced, so you got her voting for us, with us, you got her co-sponsoring bills that help us. Now she introduced legislation to expand affordable housing, benefiting low-income communities that include who? FBA. Families struggling with home ownership due to redlining and housing discrimination. So once again, is he simply cozying up to, warming up to, sucking up to black self-haters? Or black people who got no clue whatsoever about social and political discussion? How can you be somebody that says you are in favor of black progress, you are in favor of eliminating or getting around redlining, because that's been one of the biggest obstacles in black home ownership? This woman introduced legislation that helps correct and address that problem. And this clown is talking about she ain't opened her mouth yet. All he really doing is spewing out Republican, MAGA, white supremacist talking points. She even advocated for the canceling of rent and mortgage payments during the scam-demic, the plandemic, the COVID era. So once again, now don't tell me, well, that's not an FBA issue. I seen quite a few FBAs talking about the rent too high. I ain't got the money. They won't let us come to work. If she wouldn't have helped advocate for and vote for and push for that legislation, a lot of people would have been out on the street. A lot of who people? FBA people. So while he's trying to trick you into saying Ilhan Omar does not explicitly prioritize FBA, almost every piece of legislation that comes down the pike that would help FBA, she supports it. She introduces it. She co-sponsors it. So what is he talking about? How is he not lying? How is he not just being a regular old goofball? Or is it something more sinister going on here? Is it something? And I will have you know, the percentage of foundational Black Americans making under $125,000 a year can be estimated based on economic data for Black households in the USA. Black American median household income is at $52,000. This is based on 2022 data. This is based on 2022 census data. Households earning below $125,000 is 87 to 90%. So that means the bill that she was sponsoring and advocating for and working for would help 87 to 90% of FBA. Yet he says she ain't doing nothing. Well, who is he looking for? What is he looking for? Since FBA make up the majority of Black Americans, 80 to 85% of the US Black population is FBA Black Americans, we can assume that the roughly 87 and 90% of FBA households earn under $125,000 a year. Why this matters? Ilhan Omar's support for policies like free public college for households earning under $125,000 a year, minimum wage increases up to like at least $15 an hour, would impact the vast majority of FBA families. Now, yes, they're not specifically targeted at FBA. Is there any legislation that's specifically targeted towards FBA other than reparations? Because even the First Step Act is not. Okay, you could catch me with that. But the First Step Act is not specifically targeting FBAs. It's letting mostly FBAs out. It's correcting a problem that hit mostly FBAs. So in that respect, it is specifically targeting FBAs, and she's in favor of that one. So what's he talking about? She's giving speeches on George Floyd and police reform. She's giving speeches on reparations and economic justice. I thought I had a speech. I was going to play her speech. So where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Okay, so if I got her speech, so let me see if I can share this one. This one is not video. Okay, so I'm going to share this. Let's see if I can get this onto the screen properly. Might not be able to get this onto the screen properly. So, okay, hold on. Bear with me for a second, please. So, okay, so hold on. This is the one. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sticking with me. This is what I should have been doing. Now I got the right screen up, and the receipt itself is from BT. Now you can't get more FBA than that. But if you are tuning in, if you are still here, please hit the like button. Please hit the notification button so that you get my next notification when I go live. Share this live stream with anybody else that you know. If you're in the chat room, please take a moment. I do believe I got a pinned comment in here somewhere. Yeah, my pinned comment. Do you think that these anti-unity channels are being boosted to divide us? Let's discuss it. You ain't got to come in and, well, I haven't put a link up there yet, but if you feel like answering that question, please answer it in the chat room and I'll put your answer on the screen. Do you think these anti-unity channels are being boosted to divide us? Let's discuss that. I think so, but okay. So again, I'm just trying to get all of these receipts out here. So when Hill asked Omar where she stands on reparations for Black Americans, she responded. She responded because he said she ain't open her mouth. She said reparations is past time for it. She said, I'm an African immigrant. My situation is very much different in the way that my family interacts with the system. And I want to make sure that my colleagues who come from enslaved ancestry are deciding how that policy is implemented in that regard. If that's not the quintessential statement in a respectful manner, I am in full support in trying to make sure we are taking full steps into getting reparations. So again, I'm just saying, if you don't like her, if you want her replaced, if you want an FBA to take her seat, I ain't even mad at you for that, but deal with facts. You said she ain't never represented us. She'll never stand up for us. She don't prioritize us. This is an example of, you said she ain't never opened her mouth about us. This is an example of all of that. That's why she voted for HR 40. It's the only legislation that FBA has put on the table anyhow. So if you don't like HR 40, you can't be mad at her. You got to be mad at yourself. What are you doing to create a legislative document other than HR 40? That's what he's supposed to be on his channel, talking to 37,000 people on a channel with 1.83 million subscribers. And he's telling them she ain't opened his mouth, and his chat room full of idiots that think he's telling the truth. Maybe I shouldn't be calling them idiots, but if none of them are willing to push back, press back, do the research and say, oh, wait a minute, bro, what you talking about? What you mean? The only bill we got out there is reparations, and she voted for it, but you said she ain't for us? Who's paying you? Who's paying you? So again, with these receipts, matter of fact, what did she say? Hang on. In her state, she was one of the only candidates that voted for it. Let me see if I can find that one. Okay, so I can't find that one. I'm not going to belay that point that much longer. Because I wanted to. This is the other thing I'm gonna do. I ain't finished yet. And the reason I ain't finished yet, I've shown plenty of receipts to show that he's already dead wrong. He's already lying. He's already faking the funk. But I got more receipts because his grift doesn't stop with just that one statement. And that's why I think it's so disgusting. You know, if you just wrong one time, hey, okay, maybe I need to give you a break, cut you some slack. But we also got this statement.
Trying to advocate for the Somali people back home. So she's taking up space that could be for an FBA.
He's saying she spends some time in her office or in her congressional duties. She advocates for Somalians back home. Now, how you gonna be mad at that? But even if you're mad at that, I'm gonna let that slide because that's just the prelude. Here's the real thing.
To be in Congress, to try to be advocating for FBA people. Now do you see why a lot of government trying to advocate for the Somali people back home? So she's taking up space that could be for an FBA to be in Congress.
She's taking up space. He said she's taking up space that could be for an FBA in Congress.
To try to be advocating for FBA people. Now do you see why a lot of FBAs now are saying, I really don't want people with immigrant backgrounds to be in these positions, because every single time they always advocate for their immigrant background and not for the greater black community FBA. Right? And if something goes to FBAs, it will go to the black immigrants too.
Okay, so now we following. Again, number one, don't tell me I'm making it up. Don't tell me I'm misconstruing it. He said she don't advocate for FBAs. He said this is why FBAs got a problem, because these immigrants get over here and they advocate for the immigrant community and they don't advocate for the FBAs. And anything that come to the FBAs got to go to the immigrants also. Now I just read you 3 or 4 different pieces of documentation where she's voted for reparations. She's voted for all of these other things. Now, yeah, some of those things will go to anybody that fits the criteria. But you can't be FBA and not involve yourself in the creation of the legislative document and then be mad that somebody outside of FBA gets their hands on it. If you don't want immigrants to get their hand on it, and I'm not saying that they are getting their hands on it, and I'm not saying that they should get their hands on it. I'm saying you can't be mad at the congressman that votes for it if you didn't have any input on what the it looks like. Now, HR 40 could be edited, could be revised, rewritten, but he ain't talking about that. He ain't saying, let's get these 1.83 million subscribers together and push to revise the HR 40 bill, because that's real easy to do. The woman's already voted for it once, but it didn't pass. It didn't pass because of Democrats. It didn't. It failed not because of Democrats. It failed because of Republicans. But again, he's continuing this narrative, and maybe I'll play it again and make sure we all heard it.
Trying to advocate for the Somali people back home.
He says,
so she's taking up space that could be for an FBA.
She's taking up space that could be for an FBA in Congress
to try to be advocating for FBA people. Now do you see why?
So she's taking up space that could be for an FBA. Okay, maybe. Now, so let's look. Detailed demographic data on Minnesota's 5th Congressional District. It's not a whole lot of data out there, but there's some data. Now, district demographics. Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, which includes Minneapolis and surrounding areas, is a diverse area. So this is her district. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the district's population is approximately 60% white. Now, let's just sit with that for a second. So she's representing an area that's 60% white. But he's saying she's taking up a space that an FBA person could get. Now, I want to say, when is 60% of white people going to be voting for a black person? But I mean, I can't say that because they apparently (18 to 20% are black or African American. And that's roughly FBA, but not entirely. 10% Hispanic or Latino, 6% Asian. Urban areas like Minneapolis tend to lean Democratic, so she picked the right party. But FBAs is trying to go over there to the Republican Party. Given that Representative Omar is a Democrat, it's likely that her support base reflects the district's diversity. In the 2024 Democratic primary, Representative Omar secured 56% of the vote against challenger Don Samuels, who received 43%. So, I asked the question, well, what's the race or ethnicity of Don Samuels? Well, lo and behold, he's saying she's taking up a space for FBA. Don Samuels is a Jamaican American and identifies as Black. He was born in Jamaica and later immigrated to the United States. Samuels is a former Minneapolis City Council member and has been active in local politics, particularly around public safety and community development. Again, if he wants an FBA to be in that seat, you tell me how come he has not helped. I don't hear him promoting an FBA to run for that seat. I just hear him jaw-jabbing. So Don Samuels challenged her and lost. He challenged her in 2022 and 2024. He ran on a moderate platform compared to her progressive stance. That's the thing. She stands with the progressives. His campaign emphasized public safety and crime reduction, which resonated with some voters. However, she still won both races. So we asked the question, since he says she's taking up an FBA space or a space that could be for an FBA. Yeah, it could be if there was a valid FBA running in that district. The only other person was a Jamaican immigrant. Where is his FBA candidate? Representative Ilhan Omar has faced election opponents who are foundational Black Americans. In the 2020 general election, her Republican challenger was Lacey Johnson, a Black American entrepreneur and community activist. Johnson identifies as an FBA. He campaigned on issues such as economic development and education reform. Despite his efforts, Omar won the election approximately with 64% of the vote, while Johnson only received 25.8% of the vote. So once again, here's an FBA who can't cut the mustard. You only got 25% of the vote. Now, again, we got to couple this with the fact that she's voted lock, stock, and barrel with FBA on FBA issues. And the FBA person that ran for that spot couldn't get but a quarter of the people to believe in them. We ain't even lost nothing. Matter of fact, what it is we gained something. Because it was Malcolm X, as the ancestor Betty Shabazz said, Malcolm X said, reach across the pond. Get yourself over there and make connections with Africa. She's Somali. She's a government official. That can go a long way if we ever decide to take the reparations issue to the United Nations. But I know we ain't going to do it because we don't really want that check. We just talk like we want that check. But if you want something and you never go after it, do you really want it? Additionally, in the 2024 Democratic primary, Omar was challenged by Don Samuels, a former Minneapolis City Council member. Samuels, the Jamaican, not considered FBA. He ran on a more moderate platform, emphasizing public safety and crime reduction. Omar defeated him in the primary, securing her position as the Democratic nominee. Ain't even had an FBA even trying to run for office. So in yet one more election cycle, she faced Dalia Al-Akidi, another Republican. And guess what the Republicans tried? They tried to pick a Muslim. So now you got Muslim against Muslim. You got Black Muslim against a pale Arab Muslim. And the district came out and voted for the Black Muslim. But he secretly, sneakily wants you to vote for the pale Arab Muslims so a Republican get in office. So you can have more MAGA nuts running around here talking about we going to shut everything down and we want to reduce the size of government so we can fire some more black people. She won that. Let me see. So she won against the Republican pale Arab with 76% of the vote. So for him to say she taking up the space of the FBA, and you got 2 million people watching and listening, and they don't push back, because you know why they don't push back? Because they don't know. They don't know nothing. They ain't researching. Well, you say, well, okay. Which way did he go? Which way did he go? So again, my receipts, because he went up to where did I stop it?
A lot of FBAs now are saying, I really don't want people with immigrant backgrounds to be in these positions, because every single time they always advocate for their immigrant background and not for the greater black community FBA.
So again, he's trying to tell these FBA nuts, I'm sorry to call them that, but I can't help it, because if you just listen to lies, something wrong with you. He's trying to tell you that she, as an immigrant person, always advocates for the immigrants and never advocates for the FBAs. I just read off all of these legislative documents where she advocated for, introduced, co-sponsored, and voted for FBA-oriented issues. She didn't say, I'm not going to vote for reparations until somebody help me get some more Somalians over here. If she said that, he'd be 100% on square. She didn't say that. She didn't do that. And my last little piece, I think I got one more. Oh, that might have been it then. I thought I had one more. So, yeah, let me see. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I got one more little thing. I'm trying to, I'm just trying to set the record straight. What that other clown say? I'm just here to make you think. But I want you to think properly. That's the proper perspective way. So we
instead of waiting for the summertime to come outside, we've been
little
getting out
thing
here in
out
the
the way.
spring on rainy nights, just being able to watch a movie together as a family, eat outside. The whole entire summer we were.
What are their inventions compared to ours, FBA? Well, the only thing that they can present to us is they work hard.
So here we go with. All right, so now I'm going to play this next little clip. Where's my little share feature? Ooh, where does share screen go? Share screen. Okay, I'm still sharing the screen, so I got to reduce it. Okay, there we go. So there we go. Now, here we go. Check it out.
That's really it. It's no inventions, no innovations that you could say, oh yeah, we did this in America, right? No, they just, I work hard. I got a degree, like FBAs don't work hard and got degrees. FBAs got so many degrees. We've been having degrees. So they say, well, we get more degrees. You cannot get more degrees than FBAs. Number one, it's not enough for you to get enough anti-reparations.
Here we go.
Ilhan Omar haven't said. Remember, if they are pro-immigration, they're anti-reparations. Has been the best thing ever, because we have been pumping the brakes. Has been a mean crap. Because you can have a degree out and be broke. It's on us.
My bad, party people. Okay, here we go. Here's the section I'm really talking about.
It's on us to put a stop to that. That's why delineation has been the best thing ever, because we have been pumping the brakes.
He says, so again, he says delineation has been the best thing ever. clearly contradicting what Malcolm X was doing, clearly contradicting the actual move of actually obtaining reparations. The real move to get reparations, if you really get deep into this reparations conversation, you got people that's telling you you can't even give reparations because of the statute of limitations. Well, wouldn't that be one reason why Malcolm X said go to the United Nations? Because it's a human rights issue, not an American jurisdiction issue. Every other country on this planet, when they violate the human rights of its constituents, that problem goes to the UN. And once there's a vote and says, yeah, you did something wrong, that government, you out of line, they're given X number of days to correct it, or the world nation says we got to send in the troops and we can come in there and fix it. And when they come in to fix it, yeah, there's been some issues where some problems arose. But the problems only arise when the government that they're coming in there to say, you're going to fix this. When that government says, no, I ain't, that's when the problems arise. The problems don't arise because the UN comes in. The problem arises because the government says, I still ain't going to do it. I still ain't going to do it. So if you really want your reparations, you get the UN to say, yep, we got to go in there. Because Uncle Sam going to back down once all the fire is put to his feet. But again, what is he saying? What is he saying? Because it's my last piece.
On the Ilhan Omars of the world.
Pump the brakes on the Ilhan Omars of the world. He wants you, I thought I was going to just play it straight. He wants you to pump the brakes on the Ilhan Omars of the world. He don't want no more Ilhan Omars in Congress. He don't want somebody that votes for reparations in Congress. He don't want somebody that votes to raise the minimum wage in Congress. He don't want somebody that votes to create to get rid of college loan debt in Congress. What's going on with this brother? It sounds like Uncle Sam. What is this sounding like to you? If this, like, I hate to use the word Uncle Sam. I hate to use the phrase Uncle Sam because in reality, you go doing the research on that. Uncle Sam was the cool one. Sambo was the problem. I misspoke. Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom was the problem. Uncle Tom was the revolutionary. Sambo was the problem. So brother sounded more like a Sambo, but I ain't trying to go there because I already know most people don't know that. So we continue to use this Uncle Tom phrase as if it's the correct idea. Meanwhile, enemy laughing. They don't even know the story correctly. We got them. But he's trying to pump the brakes on a person that votes for you. If that ain't the biblical snake narrative, trying to talk you about your gifts, trying to talk you about your abundance.
They're anti-reparations.
If this ain't the dumbest, if you are pro-immigration, you are anti-reparations. How? Ilhan Omar votes for reparations every chance she get. Every legislation that comes down the pike that could help FBAs, she votes yes. But he trying to smoke you into thinking she voted no. He knows you ain't gonna go look at the record. That's why I was trying to show the receipts. He knows you ain't gonna go look at the record. You fooling yourself, you playing yourself.
Ilhan Omar haven't said a word about reparations.
I already played you. I already showed you. I already read you her commentary and her interviews.
The only ones out the squad that I give them honorable mention. The only ones out the squad that mentioned reparations for honorable mention was Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman. That was the only two. And Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman are FBA. They're not immigrants.
How is this dude even serious? How is he not a clown? She ain't opened her mouth on reparations. The only one to open their mouth is Cory Booker. Really? Really though, bruh? When she said in an interview, they asked her, what are your thoughts on reparations? In an interview, they asked her, what are your thoughts on reparations? Let's see if I can get this right. Okay, here we go. So in an interview, they said, what are your thoughts on reparations? Ilhan Omar said, we, the Congressional Black Caucus, are going to have a conversation about the push for reparations. We are one of the co-sponsors of that legislation. It's a commission that is going to be tasked with a study. With that study, we're hoping proposals will come out of it to address the social effect of slavery and segregation, the kind of implications it's had on the Black economy. But he said he said the only person that's opened their mouth is Cory Booker. Cory Booker ain't said nothing but let's have HR 40. So he gonna give Cory Booker credit for talking about HR 40, but he not gonna give her credit for talking about HR 40. If this ain't a clown, if this ain't an agent, you can't be that intelligent and be that daggone wrong. You can't be that intelligent and that wrong.
But
Unless
he was
it's
on
on
that
purpose.
pro-immigration stuff too. But I'm saying I'm giving him honorable mention.
So again, I got the receipts. I got such a small little channel and platform. How I can find this? He got 2 million followers and he can't find the congressional record where she's voted for it. This man is not for us. And I hate to say that. At least on this issue, I hate to say that because I like the channel. I first found that channel and I'm like, finally, shout out to Dr. Dennis Ossaw Winkler. Dr. Daw, how you doing? Talk that talk. I'm doing my best. I'm trying. So again, let me see if I can find this thing. Let me see. I don't know if this is going to work, but I will say I'm going to put this in here. Now, if anybody want to come aboard, I'm more than happy. I put the link in the chat so you can come aboard if you want to. I ain't mad if you don't. But those are my receipts. That's my challenge to this brother. If you really about that life, if you really about the African diaspora, show and prove. If you really about the African diaspora news, then you got to come correct with it. You can't lie. You can't fake the funk. Unless you're working for the federal government, ladies and gentlemen, under the CIA's the CIA and the FBI COINTEL program. Is that what it is? Are we looking at professional coons? Are we looking at professional coons? Is that what it is? And I tried to do some digging, and I hate to go there. But I got to say, I know if I ain't got into trouble yet, I might get into trouble with this my last and final thoughts. Because I had to go and look, and I'm telling you. Now I tried to look for some information. Didn't necessarily find what I was looking for, But I did find, like I said, I will be promoting this idea that we got some COINTELPRO agents amongst us. Now, don't get it twisted. Don't get me wrong. I know, brother, what you talking about? The COINTEL program ended a long time ago. I know it officially ended a long time ago. I know it officially ended a long time ago. Officially. But I also know what their program was, what their goal was. The COINTEL program's goal was to divide Black America. Why? Because a divided nation is a conquered nation. A divided community is a conquered community. And you're not going to tell me that they would create such a plan, that they would see that it is extremely successful, and that they would shut it down and never implement it again. That's the whole basis of having black ops. We got so many brothers and sisters running around here talking about black ops, psyops. The biggest one is right there in your face. If you are instrumental, if you are involved in doing anything that divides the community, then you are directly or indirectly helping the enemy. You are directly or indirectly, are you benefiting? You know, it was Elijah Muhammad that said 5% of the population are conscious and working toward the betterment. He called them the poor righteous teachers. Shout out to one of my favorite hip hop groups. But he called them the poor righteous teachers because they were conscious, they were knowledgeable, they had wisdom and understanding. They understood the culture of freedom about everything going on in our cipher. And they worked on it for the benefit of the people. And he said there were 10% that was knowledgeable, had the wisdom and understanding. And they would deliberately work to use that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to benefit themselves to the detriment of the community. And that there were 85% of the people that was lost, blind, deaf, and dumb, stuck in triple stages of darkness, don't know heads or tails, don't know left or right, and just follow whatever somebody say. This brother got 2 million people on his platform, and they just following any lie that come out of his mouth. That ain't right. That ain't right by no means. That ain't right. We got to figure out a way to either stop him or wake up his congregation, because that's what it is. We living in this new digital age. YouTube is the new church. And people are flocking to these churches just to hear the word, the false word, the fake word, whatever got that energy behind it. See, we love negative energy, and that's what he's generating. So yeah, the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover deliberately used media, informants, paid influencers to create division among Black leaders. They did it with Malcolm. They did it with MLK. They did it with the Black Panthers. They did it with the NAACP. They did it with the Republic of New Africa. They did it with the Black Liberation Army. They planted false narratives to turn Black people against each other. I'm not going to say this entire show of his. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say this entire network of his. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say the half of the stream that I'm playing. Because see, this is what he do. Just like the biblical snake narrative, he come in with some half truths to draw you in. He come in with some positive vibes to draw you in. So in the first half of his show, he's defending South Africa. So you're like, yep, that draw you in. Yep, okay, this is a Pan-African channel. He for the cause. And then on the second half of the show, let's get rid of the Black immigrant. How you do that? Watch for the hook. And be careful of that jab, because it's coming. That's how you do that. He's planting false narratives. I played 3 different clips where he did nothing but lie on that black woman. So there is a modern digital COINTELPRO. If I can't prove it, okay. Just like he can't prove that she is against reparations, but he's saying it. If you go come at me and say, I can't prove it. Dr. Dennis Assar says, Ashe, 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 oh. Gonna have to have you come do a talk at the temple. I might be a little intrepid about the public speaking, but we can chat it up. We can chat it up for sure. But again, we have documented cases of government and foreign actors like Russia using bots and fake accounts to influence black political discourse. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I'm not even down talking Russia. I'm a Pan-Africanist. And the only reason I say that, I stand with Africa. I'm a Pan-Africanist. I stand with Pan-Africanism. It's in my spirit and my heart, even if I'm not associated with a particular organization. And I say that because I know Russia's doing a whole lot of good for Africa, particularly West Africa at the moment. If you pay attention, if you've paid attention, he's helping Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso, which is one of the West African countries that I feel like I have like a little bit of some kind of like association and connection with, because I did my DNA test and I found out that one of my ancestors came from Burkina Faso. So I got a little bit of a thing there going on. But even if I didn't have that, I'm a Pan-Africanist. And I've known about Burkina Faso because of Thomas Sankara. And Ibrahim Traore is essentially right now, he's like the modern day reincarnation of Thomas Sankara. If you don't know what that brother about, if you don't know neither one of them, please look them up. Maybe I'll do a show on it, I don't know. But please look them up. But I say that to say Russia's doing a whole lot of stuff to help that man stand on his feet and stay on his feet. Just like Russia did a whole lot to help Fidel Castro stand on his feet and stay on his feet. To remain independent and free from Uncle Sam's mischievous schemes. That notwithstanding, there have been documented cases of government and foreign actors like Russia, but not only Russia, using bots and fake accounts to influence black political discourse. Now, clearly, we can't say that this is a bot. Clearly, we can't say that this is a fake account. This is a real man. This is a real black man. He on the wrong team. But clearly, he not getting his information. So if he is innocent of the charge of lying, then he's just dead wrong. He's clearly not getting his information. Because if I can find her interview, if I can find her congressional record, and it says that she's voting for and supporting our issues, and he's sitting here telling 2 million people that she's not, okay, then you're not a liar, you're a fool. You're a liar, you're a fool, or you are a COINTELPRO agent. Pick. And it's not just him, because him, Tariq Nasheed, Yvette Carnell, all these pretendians pushing extreme FBA versus black immigrant rhetoric, it seems to be strategically promoted. Donald Trump walked into office the first year off the wave of fake news. And all these pimps is riding the wave. Why? Because black Americans have always been a key Democratic voting bloc, and Republicans hate it. And so Republican-backed operatives of foreign adversaries benefit from internal FBA versus immigrant fights. Ilhan Omar is a progressive black politician who challenges the status quo on policing, reparations, and economic justice. So attacking Ilhan Omar with a false narrative keeps FBA voters distrustful, miseducated, blinded, off track, and not understanding what progressive black politicians are, who they are, and what the issues are that they push for when it comes to racial justice policies. Could Phillip Scott be an unknown or unknowing tool? It's possible that he is simply being useful to certain political agendas rather than actively working with the government. I said you got three options. You're a bold-faced liar, you're a big old fool, or you're a cointelpro tool. He may believe what he is saying, but if he believes what he is saying, does he not have an obligation to investigate and check for the receipts? And as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to say this rapid rise, but I mean, he could be getting a boost off the YouTube algorithm or some other unseen forces. I know I want the boost off the algorithm, so I ain't necessarily mad at that. But is it that black people can only get the algorithm boost when they are trading in negativity? Is that what it is? Somebody is benefiting from his divisive rhetoric. And history, what did Malcolm say? Malcolm said history of all the studies, and I think he got it from Elijah Muhammad himself anyhow, but of all the studies, history is the one that best benefits us. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. But history tells us that COINTELPRO-like tactics are always in play. Always. So I say all of that to say somebody need to check this brother. Somebody need to call this brother out. Somebody other than me. I got a small platform. I thank everybody for being here. Hopefully I can generate more streams, more views. If you're still tuning in at this point in time, please close that out. Shout out to Alsar Winkler, the red, black, and green. What's up, Unk? If you're still tuning in at this time, please, I appreciate your presence. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate your activity in the chat room. I'm not going to stay here much longer. I am going to share the screen one more again. And, well, I think I'm going to share the screen one more again. Let me see if I can find it because, okay, yeah, here we go. Let me see. Get this on over here out the way. And this is just like station identification. Here we go with the little mix up. So let me share this screen, minimize this one. And what I like to do during my shows, you know, if you are familiar with YouTube, then you know it take a while for you to get those what is it? The monetization. It takes some time for you to get monetization. So in the meantime and in between time, the bigger channels, if you're on a bigger channel, then you see that they're already monetized, and on their page is all of their merch. So I'm not monetized, so you can't really see my merch unless I show it to you. So I'm showing it to you. Black Power at creatorspring.com, and there is a link to it in. I don't always put it in the chat. I'm supposed to be putting it in the chat, so let me put it there at least for future reference. Let me put this thing in the chat. So it is now in the chat. And it is also in the description. If you're watching this live right now, if you're watching this tomorrow or some other day, and you watch the whole thing and you like what I'm talking about and you feel where I'm coming from, then please take a moment to consider hopping on over to my merch channel, my merch page, my website for graphic tees, and take a look at what I have to offer. My latest creation is the period for everybody to feel like I'm done. Period. I ain't doing it no more. I got a cool t-shirt and a cool hoodie for you. If you're into Black heroes and African heroes, I got a cool t-shirt about that. I got one of my favorites is the write-up, the RGB Black Leaders t-shirt. Defend like Huey, write like Fanon, and so on and so forth. This is my Pan-African shirt. So, like, if you know about the leaders, then it's like, okay, that's cool. If you don't know, then the shirt itself is a walk-in teaching lesson. So again, that's my merch. I appreciate you for taking a look. I'm gonna stop sharing. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna stop the sharing. Not quite yet. I'm getting ready to stop sharing. 1 second. See, when you're not paying attention, you start showing the wrong stuff. Look at that. So let me pull the right screen up. And like I said, that's my proper perspective. We got to be way more vigilant. We got to be way more diligent when it comes to the information we take in. We can't, like, not even me. Don't take everything I'm saying without a grain of salt. If you can find something where I'm wrong, fine. Show me where I'm wrong, and I'll be like, yo, bro, you right. But I came with the receipts to show that Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has been voting for the same issues that we've been fighting for quite a while. So for the life of me, aside from assigning Phillip Scott some kind of negative label, for the life of me, I can't see why a man of such means and intelligence is running around here spitting out all these false narratives. But that's my proper perspective. We need to do better. And with that, I'm going to play my intro, my outro, and I'm going to get on out here. Unless anybody wants to hit that link and jump up to join in, but I don't think anybody do, and no pressure, and I ain't mad if you don't. But I'm going to go ahead and hit the play button. Please vibe out with me and listen to my theme song. I wrote it, I produced it, and I created the little video that you see, kind of, so to speak.
Break it down with the proper perspective. So much controversy and a lot of deception. You don't know who's coming through with the light and reflection, and whose mouth is mumbling, trick knowledge deceptive. Shabazz, break it down with the proper perspective. So much controversy and a lot of deception. You don't know who's coming through with the light and reflection, and whose mouth is mumbling, trick knowledge deceptive. Shabazz, break it down with the proper perspective. Shabazz, break it down with the proper perspective. Break it down with the proper perspective.